A lot of time on this podcast, we talk about communication, trust, emotional connection, all those layers that build and rebuild our relationships over time. But every now and then, I get a message or a letter that hits such a deep chord. I know it's something we need to unpack together. So today's episode is one of those. It's one of our Dear Katie episodes where you guys send in your real questions, your real stories, and we walk through them together. Because when one of you writes something this honest and vulnerable, I can promise you there are hundreds of others listening who are feeling the same thing. This one's about sex, shame, and leftover effects of purity culture, and how that conditioning can stay with us even in a loving, safe, and long-term marriage. So grab a warm drink and let's dive in. Welcome to Relationship Reset, Reignite, Reconnect, Rebuild, the podcast for high-achieving couples who want to transform their relationship from surviving to thriving. I'm Katie Russler, a relationship coach and counselor with over 15 years of experience helping busy, overwhelmed couples rebuild connection, trust, and intimacy. If you've been together for years and feel stuck on autopilot, disconnected and frustrated by constant miscommunication, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll explore practical tools, relatable stories, and strategies to help you reignite the spark, rebuild your bond, and create the relationship you've always dreamed of. Because no matter how long you've been together, it's never too late to hit reset. Let's dive in. Let's start with the letter. Dear Katie, we've been married 13 years, and we are both in our mid-40s. I was raised in American purity culture, but my husband was not, so he didn't get the same expectations and bad teachings about sex that I got growing up. My husband is great. He shares the mental load and parenting challenges, and he's very affirming. But he's baffled by the hold purity culture still has on me. You would think 13 years of marriage to a good man would have moved the needle on my attitude toward sex. But I'm also dealing with a chronically low libido, which has been even more negatively affected by reoccurring depression. So I constantly feel like a failure at sex and a constant disappointment to my husband. I was trained by my culture and religious upbringing to believe that, quote, men are just like this, and, quote, men think this way about women's bodies and about sex. And I'm having a lot of trouble believing my husband when he tells me that he's not, in fact, as terrible in his views about women as I was trained to expect men to be. My head believes him, but my heart is trapped in my cultural conditioning and is limiting my freedom and enjoyment in our sexual relationship. I know this needs more long-term work than you can answer in a single podcast episode, but how can I get started getting free and really trusting my husband when he tells me that he loves me and loves my plus-sized body? Thank you for your help. Married to one good man, not all those fictional bad ones. First of all, thank you for writing this. Truly, there are so many women who struggle with this, and you are brave enough to say it out loud. You're also naming what so many carry silently. It's easy to think I should be over this by now, especially when you have a good, loving partner who's doing so many things right. But this letter perfectly describes what happens when our head knows we're safe, but our body doesn't believe it yet. That disconnect can feel maddening, right? It's like, come on, look, everything's fine. It's like you're living two truths at once. I know he loves me and I still feel shame. That tension doesn't mean you're broken. It means your nervous system learned something long before your adult self did. So let's talk about how you start to get free. And I'm going to break this down into 3 parts, okay? So we're going to start with why the old messages still live in your body, right? That old conditioning. Then we're going to move into how to rebuild trust, both with your partner and your body. And the third is how to begin rewriting your story of sexuality, safety, and worth, okay? So let's start with why do those old messages still live inside of you this many years later and after being with your partner for so long? Here's the thing. You don't think your way out of purity culture. You unlearn it through experience. When you were growing up, the messages you heard about your body, desire, and worth weren't just ideas. They were safety instructions, right? They were teaching us what is safe and what is not. They told your brain, if I follow these rules, I'll be loved, I'll be good, I'll be safe. So even now, as a grown woman in a secure marriage, that part of you still believes that letting go of those old rules might put you at risk. One of my favorite couples counselors and teachers, Terry Real, calls this part of us the adaptive child. She's the one who learned how to stay safe, how to please others, how to avoid judgment. She did her job, but as adults, that same part can block our intimacy because she's still following a manual that no longer fits. So when your husband reaches for you and your body tenses, that's not rejection, that's protection. That's the younger part of you saying, is this safe? Are we sure? And the work isn't to silence her. It's to teach her that the rules have changed and for a good reason. So, how do we start to rebuild that trust, right? With your partner, with your body? Let's get into that. When you've lived disconnected from your body for years, it takes time and patience to rebuild trust, not just with your partner, but with yourself. So, instead of trying to fix your libido, start with curiosity. What would it feel like to simply reconnect to your own body again? Without pressure or expectation. It can be really hard to believe our partner finds us attractive and loves us if we don't find ourselves attractive and we don't show our body love. Now, we're going to add in the fact that not only is there religious conditioning, but there's cultural conditioning here around what attractive looks like, right? For a woman, what is supposed to be. And that takes many of us years and years, if not decades, to rewrite. It was in the magazines we looked at, the movies we watched, the TV shows that we saw. It's in how our family members and friends talked about people they saw. Oh man, that person's put on some weight. Oh my gosh, they look like they haven't been eating, right? We constantly were receiving messages, and that told us what's acceptable or not. But you're in a relationship with your husband who desires to be physically intimate with you because he finds you attractive. And that's hard to believe because it speaks against everything that you learned. So the first thing is to work on you feeling safe in your own body to believe the truths that your husband's telling you. And one way to do that is to start to practice safe connection, not forced intimacy with your partner. When your husband tells you he loves your body, notice what happens in your body in that moment. Do you tense up? Do you want to look away? Instead of judging that, just name it. You might even say to him, part of me believes you and part of me still feels the old fear. That's how you invite your partner into the healing rather than hiding it. As your partner starts to share how he sees you, what he feels about you, there's a part of you that is going to want to put up that protective barrier. And that's why it's really good to name it, to say, like, I still feel the fear around this of accepting that this might be true because these beliefs are not the beliefs I'm used to following. But as we reparent ourselves to start to understand that the rules that we were taught potentially by our culture or religion actually are doing harm to us now, that adaptive child has become maladaptive, we start to reparent that maladaptive side of us to realize what is safety now? What does safety actually look like? What does it feel like? I work with clients that when their partner even just touches their arms or rubs their leg, they tense up because it's like, what is this? Why are you doing that? Often their partner's not going in for sexual touch. It really is, I love you, I'm here. But because of their history, specifically with the purity culture, there is this feeling of they must want something I don't want to give them right now. And this feels wrong. This feels bad. Even years later, this is how deep this runs, sadly. Here's another thing I want you to try. Rebuild your sensory trust. Start exploring gentle, non-sexual touch with your partner, holding hands, cuddling, back rubs. Your nervous system learns safety through repetition, not intensity. Every time your body experiences safe, loving touch with no demand attached, it rewires a little more. This is good. This is safe. My partner, our physical touch, the oxytocin that is released in that, this is good. That trust hormone is allowed to be there. Then I want you to separate desire from duty. Low libido isn't moral failure. It's information. It's your body saying, I don't feel safe or rested enough to want. And there might be a hormonal shift that's happening for you too. So that's something to explore as well. So before you even think about arousal, start by asking, what would help my body feel safe today? Maybe that's rest, laughter, connection. Maybe it's getting more information about the hormonal shifts that are happening in your body. Desire grows in environments where we feel relaxed, not responsible. I'm going to say that again. Desire grows in environments where we feel relaxed, not responsible. You are not responsible for giving your partner pleasure. It is an act you guys do together to enjoy together. No one has more responsibility than the other. And as you start to remove this sense of responsibility from sex, you start to communicate what you like and you ask your partner what they like too. And it becomes more playful and fun and curious like it's supposed to be. So let's start to look at rewriting the story from shame to a sense of more freedom with your body and with sexuality. Purity culture taught an entire generation that being desirable was dangerous, that our worth was tied to restraint, and that men's desire was something to manage rather than connect with. That does real harm. It disconnects us from our own agency. So let's start to rewrite the core beliefs you inherited, okay? So I'm going to give you some examples, but you obviously, and anyone listening who wants to do this, need to write down your own old messages. I'm going to just list some that I know tend to be there. Old message number 1, my body is a temptation. I can't even say it with a straight face. My body is a temptation. Gosh, we've been taught that in so many ways. Like, well, you got what you deserve. That's what you were wearing. Or make sure your skirt is long enough because you don't want to tempt the boys in school. Again, I'm rolling my eyes. I'm laughing. I'm really holding back to say even more. But anyways, the new truth, my body is my home, a place of goodness, wisdom, and belonging, right? Your body is something that is safe, not something that's dangerous. Old message number 2, sex is something that happens to me. That one hit too. So many of us grew up in a generation that sex was something that was done to us rather than we get to choose and be a part of that connection. So the new truth is intimacy is something I choose. It's an act of connection, not obligation. It has nothing to do with, quote, being a good wife. It has everything to do with something I choose as an act of connection. Third old message. Man, this one plays with us too. If I don't want sex, I'm broken. So first, my body's a temptation. Sex is something that happens to me is the second one. And third is if I don't want sex, I'm broken. I mean, our minds do all sorts of things. New truth, desire is seasonal, and my value doesn't rise and fall with it, right? Our desire changes and shifts depending on the season of life we're in, whether it be stressful, hormonal changes, fertility issues, all of it. We change. It is not a standard straight line across the board, but our value doesn't rise and fall with our changing desire because you are not the problem. You are the one doing the healing work. And the goal here isn't to become someone who's constantly in the mood. Sorry. The goal is to become someone who is free to say yes, free to say no, free to be fully present in her own body again as she experiences the enjoyment of sexual contact with her partner. Okay, so let's bring this down to something you can do this week. Number 1, practice safe touch. I want you to spend 10 minutes with your partner in quiet physical connection. No goal, no agenda, right? It can be like a massage. It can be rubbing your feet. It can just be holding hands right next to each other. Just notice your breath, your heartbeat, and the warmth between you. This is about safety, not sex. The second thing I want you to do this week is reconnect to your body daily. Try one small act that helps you feel embodied, a slow stretch, a warm shower, breathing into your belly. Noticing your body is the first step to reclaiming it. Often we disassociate with our body. Be in your body. Welcome the feeling of being in your body. And then the third step this week is name and release the inner critic. When that voice from purity culture whispers, you're disappointing him. You shouldn't feel this way. You're not attractive enough for him. You're not the way it's supposed to be. Talk back to her gently. Thank you for trying to keep me safe, but I am safe now. I don't need you anymore. Because what's interesting is we hear the voice as our adult self, but it's actually this little child in us who's just trying to protect us. I'm safe now. I don't need you to take the wheel and drive the car anymore. I've got it. You can sit in the back. And let's give you one last thing that's really good for you and your husband to do as far as communication. I want you to have about a 15-minute conversation where you each share one thing that helps you feel emotionally safe and one thing that helps you feel physically connected. No trying to fix it, no solutions. I just want you to name because often we go okay, well, I could start doing this. Nope, no solutions. Just share what's something that helps you feel emotionally safe and what's something that helps you feel physically connected. And then both of you know those are things that you will want to do or try during the weeks to come. Our awareness is the first step towards feeling more sense of freedom in our bodies. Okay, married to a good man, you're not alone in this work. Healing from purity culture is slow, but it's, let's say, holy work. The kind that rebuilds not just your sexual connection, but your sense of self. You are brave for wanting to heal this. And if you're listening and this is something you grew up with too in your culture and your religion, please know that it is so important for us to face the beliefs that we were told to believe, right? That we were conditioned to believe, to be able to sit down and go, What are these truths that I still hold on to, even if logically I know they're not true? And what are the ones that I see directly impact my relationship, my ability to feel comfortable sexually with my partner? Those then are the belief systems you start to rewrite for yourself and to condition your nervous system to feel calm, to know it is safe. It is not about protection anymore. You do not need that. It's about feeling safe and comfortable and connected with your partner in all forms of intimacy and vulnerability. Okay, remember this, your body is not the problem. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of safety and desire, exactly as you are, all of us. And of course, if you would like to go further in this discussion, it may be that a relationship game plan call isn't the right fit, but a map to clarity call. That's an individual 30-minute call with me for free where we can talk about things like this that have been on your mind and impacting your relationship for years. And we can start talking about how to rewrite those old scripts to really be more in line with what you believe and think now so that you feel safe in this phase of your life. I'll make sure the link to that is in the show notes. Okay. Dear Married to a Good Man, thank you so much for submitting this letter. I know that this is going to be a good one and will impact those who listen. And to all the listeners, I will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to Relationship Reset. If you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend who might need it too. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast. It helps more couples discover these tools to rebuild their connection too. And be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode. It's gonna be a good one. Your relationship is worth the work, and the rewards, totally worth the effort. See you next week.